Hey y'all, welcome back. We're so excited. Today's guest is probably one of my favorite young. I call her young because I'm old and she's young. So, not to be disrespectful, like you're a baby or anything, but she is young, and I'm really excited to talk with her. I know you will be too, because we're getting a perspective on the younger generation that owning these chickens, and not just to support their family, but as pets. So, if you would please help me welcome Courtney from the Rocker Chooks. Take it away, Courtney. We're so excited.
All right.
Hey, y'all. I'm Mel, and you are listening to Wilma the Wonder Hen. Are you a chicken mouth loving mama or daddy? Together, we'll dive into the latest poultry keeping adventures, chat about everyday life, with a generous mix of some hilarious stories. Bringing you fascinating interviews with poultry owners from all over. You'll find tips and basic advice from your local veterinarian, along with new chicken keeping gadgets and reviews. I'm going to see what Mr. Jangles and Wilma has to say about that. We're going to encourage and help you build a stronger, healthier flock. Let's go see what Mr. Jangles and Wilma is up to. Let's go let these heifers out.
Well, thanks, Mel. This is like super exciting. I know I've been telling friends of mine, like, oh, I have this thing coming up, but it's really chicken nerdy. I don't know if you want to hear it. And then I tell them and they go, that sounds about right for you. So I'm excited for today.
Well, for those that don't really know you, like we know you, but could you give us a little background information? Just kind of tell us who you are, where you started from, all that good stuff.
Yeah, no problem. So, folks listening will probably be like, that's a interesting accent. So I'm in northern Minnesota. Again, my name's Courtney, and I have just a tiny little flock of some backyard chicks that I started in 2020. A little bit different than maybe some folks who started during the pandemic to feed their family. I had some different goals in mind. But through that process, realizing I love these darn fluffy things. They are so cute. And quickly became my little babies. But with that, knowing I was taking and filling up my Google storage quickly and probably bothering family and friends with my regular social media, I said, you know what? These girls deserve their own page.
They do.
So that's how the Rocker Chooks Instagram came to be, is really just a place to dump all those photos. But I have just grown to really love connecting with people who love the chickens or Minnesota things, or just want to learn and look at cute animals.
Yeah. Did you grow up on a farm? I know you have an amazing background, and also what you do now, I'm a little envious of, and I'm probably going to pick your brain a little bit on the dairy cow side, maybe later on another
Okay.
chance or whatever. But what was it like growing up? Were you always thinking about animals?
Yeah, I think I was thinking about animals a lot, but my growing up was unique in that, my mom and dad were separated, so I wasn't necessarily in the same home all the time. My dad lived close to where I was on a small hobby farm. We raised, at that time, it was commercial cow calves, pretty small, and then did some haying, just really little. I got to hear lots of stories from my grandma of growing up on like the farm and all the pieces that go together with that. Back in the day, they used to have dairy cows, and like deep down would love to experience that myself. I haven't, but I surround myself with people who do. And then when I was with my mom, we had like a dog, and then my sister got a cat, and I had some rabbits. But given that I couldn't necessarily have my own animals all the time, I connected with kids at school, and 4-H became a big part of my life. So I'm really thankful for a lot of adults that let me lease animals. So I got to have lots of experience with animals through that.
Did you show cattle? I know this isn't on our topic,
I did.
but I just
Yeah,
think
that's okay.
I think it's fascinating. So
I did. I went from small to big. So first had those little rabbits, and I loved them. There was Rendell and Kendall. There's a whole story behind those names, and Sebastian. And I'm sure when my friends in the rabbit world hear this, they'll go, "Oh, Courtney." In fact, I have I guess I'm blocking the chair, but a very important chair behind me that I won a trip to this Minnesota State Fair with my rabbits and got quizzed and got a special director's chair.
Oh,
It
wow,
was
that is a big
horrendous.
deal, yeah.
Yes. So spent some time in the rabbit world. Then my very best friend growing up, who is raising her kids very similarly, she's got dairy cows, homesteads, goats. So goats became all the rage, primarily dairy goats.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then finally, I really wanted to be with beef. That was like, they're big, they're cute. I wanted to give them baths, give them like their little hair dry before the show.
A
So I
lot goes
connected with
into that. I
tons,
watched
way
some
more than I expected.
I've never had a beef cow, and, like, my husband's family, they've had beef cow here, they've had dairy cows here, they had all the goats, the pigs, everything, but I'm
Yeah.
kind of living through you because I wish I had spent more time in school, like, paying attention to, like, all the 4-H kids and stuff, so
There's a lot, and I mean, that's all the show stuff, but during the non-show time of the year, the summertime, kids are learning about, how to best take care of their animal. How do they want to move their breeding program, or if they're doing a market animal, like what goes into raising a high quality animal. So there's so much, and plus all the friendships. And I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be dating my boyfriend if it wasn't for that, because there's some weird 4-H ties and probably not on this program. So that is how I got to be involved with animals and
I wish
showing
they had, like,
cows.
4-H for old people, like
I know. Tell me
like
about it. It's a fine line. I tell
there
you.
would be people I know personally at my age that would be lining up for,
Mhm.
to experience that now. But yeah, it's very interesting.
Absolutely.
But not to interrupt, you continue on with your story. How did you get like where you are now, like with the
Oh,
college background
totally.
that you have now?
Yeah, so I actually am a first generation college student, so my
Oh,
parents didn't go to college. This is new for our family. Um, and I just really wanted to get out of my little small town. I graduated with 28 kids. Very Hickville, USA. I'm sure lots of people can
yeah.
resonate with that in their own spaces. I wanted out, and I knew education was the only path to do that. So started in community college here in our bigger town next door. Lived with my dad. It was great. Save money, do all those things, and then I really had to think about, what do I want to do? And at that time, I mean, I can't get enough of this animal stuff. I knew I couldn't be a vet. That wasn't a passion area for me, but I loved talking about them and communicating. So that's ultimately what I chose, was agricultural communication with a little minor in animal science, so I could play in the barns during college. And I did that at North Dakota State, which was really a great experience for me to figure out, okay, this is the chunk of agriculture I know, but there is this much more. I was able to travel to China to learn about worldwide agricultural trade. That was not my cup of tea. I really just wanted to have pets or foster the experiences that I had,
Yeah.
which is what led me back to the 4 H program, becoming an extension educator.
Oh, that's pretty dang amazing. I'm
Yeah.
jealous. I'm just a little jealous. That's pretty great. That's awesome. Yeah. They have a master gardeners program that I went through. I wish they have like a master um like I said, 4-H for old people.
4-H for people. Well, that's the
I
cool
would
part.
sign
Like,
up.
4-H is based on experiential learning, and as adults, we get to do that,
Yeah.
right? I feel like that's what this whole having backyard chickens thing is like my little adult 4-H slash
Oh,
experiential learning
I
experience.
like the way that yeah. Okay, so I like the way you think. I like that. That's a good point. Yeah. We all have our own little 4-H in our background, in our backyards.
That's right.
But I will say, reading through your bio, I was really impressed with the way that you started out, and then to where we got to where you last you stopped off at where you went. What your goal, what you went to college for, and then now what you're doing with your degree and stuff. But do you think
Yeah.
that when you were growing up that was something that helped you during that time? No. Okay.
Well, yes and no. So 4-H was so important to me to connect with other like kids and adults that cared, right? I think we know that young people can't get enough of that. And anyone paying attention to youth today, We have a mental health
Yeah.
crisis that we are very steeped in. Positive adult relationships are an absolute key to that. And there's lots of ways you can break that down. The Search Institute of Minneapolis has been like a really great data driven point if folks are interested in learning more about that, and how they can be good adults and positive to people around them, whether they're parents or neighbors or people I just see in the grocery store. But at that time, I definitely didn't think I was going to become somebody that worked with young people. I still don't love little teeny people. I like it when they're about my height. I'm 5'3" or taller and can hold a full on adult conversation, but are interested in learning
Yeah.
more. So teens is my favorite audience. Um, so yeah, that's kind of the workplace path, and staying connected to those people in ag definitely have supported my backyard chicken habit.
So when you started, what did you start with? Where did you get your chickens?
Yeah,
All that good stuff.
absolutely. Well, March 2020, what a fun time to try to get
Oh,
chickens. So we
yeah.
scratched that idea. I had purchased my very first home in the fall of 2019. And when I did that, I was like, this is it's all about me. Like this is my time to do what I want, which I think you're allowed to do
Yeah.
that in your
Absolutely.
20s and
Absolutely.
30s and 40s and so on. Um, but I said, you know what? Let's research through the winter time, figure out what breeds you want, what's gonna like really work here. It's my first experience with birds. Um, so pandemic happened. Luckily, our local fleet store happened to have chicks in, so I had asked for 2 barred rocks and 2 little Rhode Island reds. I wanted classic
Yeah,
Americana.
that was it. That was it. Yep.
I got it. Oh, did I get it? And then some.
Were you prepared? Did
Oh,
you do your research beforehand? Did you like plan out your coop? Did you plan out your area? All that stuff before?
sure.
Okay.
I I think I did, but in retrospect, no, no, not as good as I should have. But that's, the beauty of learning. Um, I knew enough to be dangerous and had researched enough to be dangerous. I had a location picked out in my yard for where their coop would be, but maybe I got the chicks before the coop. That's sort of how it happened.
That's how I
Um,
started.
yeah, they're tricky. Those little beaks and those cute little eyes. It's like, come home with
Yeah.
me. I'll find
Yeah.
out. We'll figure it out together.
Yes.
Um, but I'm very fortunate that my dad lives a half a mile from me with the tractor and all the things. So when I needed help to move my coop, which this might be kind of a foreign concept to some listeners, but northern Minnesota, wintertime,
Ooh.
those lakes, they're
Ooh,
frozen.
yeah.
And what do people do? We fish on the lake, drill holes. Some people bring out a spear house, so it has a great big hole. And my dad had an old spear house that he didn't use anymore. And I thought, it's like the perfect coop size. So that is ultimately what I
Oh,
chose to
okay.
use. Yeah,
That's very creative.
it, it was something, and I learned a lot through that process. This spear fishing house was insulated with pink foam. I learned
Oh.
chickens treat that like crack. They love that. That is
Yeah.
like they're mesmerized. So that was a quick, we better cover it up.
Oh,
And this was also a tin covered spear house. Wintertime, that's not great. It does not hold heat well, and it doesn't vent nice, as well as in the summertime. You're making yourself like a little cooker. So we've had to do a lot of adaptations of adding new vents and new doors and a window. But now I feel like we're in an okay spot. I've sheeted it nice, and the girls seem pretty
yeah,
happy.
yeah, that's
So
all that matters. You see a lot of
yeah,
Instagram, and there's nothing wrong if you've got a coop that costs more than my house, and you got like,
more power to you.
yeah,
But
definitely no shade from me, but I also
mm-mm.
want the our everyday person to understand that it doesn't have to look like that to say I'm
It
providing for my chickens kind of thing.
e exactly, and I've gone through ebbs and flows of, "Oh, shame, because it looks like a redneck rodeo back there," especially during flock down. I had a big blue tarp, and I have a ratchet strap holding up a board because the snow busted it down. I mean, There's a reason when you look at my account, you don't see the whole thing. But I've never had a predator break in. They've always been safe. They're covered from the rain and the wind and the elements. They lay eggs. They're happy little
That's all
chicks.
that
So
matters. And I'm laughing only
that's what
because
matters.
of I'm remembering back to Flockdown and oh goodness.
Oh,
Mine do a lot of free ranging, but they all have their own
mhm.
little runs attached to their coop, but it's small. The run isn't intended to keep them, permanently 24 hours a day in there.
Mhm.
They have a whole 7 acres in an enclosure. So when Flockdown happened, I too was freaking out. I was like putting tarps up, and I had like, netting. My husband, Rob the builder, he put up like poles to make the tarp. It
Yep.
looked like a circus back here,
Still looks like a circus back here.
but that's okay. That's okay.
Yep.
That's completely okay.
That's right.
So
We
so where
we
did
do
your
with what
names
we
come from?
can.
Where did the whole? I know there's a story behind this.
A little bit, yeah. So, I mean, naming animals, I mean, that's just like a little kid's favorite thing to do. And I got to do that at the farm with the cows. Lots of family were renamed into cows. Not sure how they feel about that. So when I thought about naming these chickens, it's like, okay, I'm got this house. This is a reflection of me. These are my babies. Independent woman, all these pieces. And I thought, female, like lead singers, is where it needs to happen
Yeah.
and land.
Yeah.
And the Rocker Chooks came to be because Rocker Chicks was taken
Yeah, yeah.
for
We
one, and
wanna make sure
yep,
people are not looking for Courtney
no,
at the
and
Rocker Chicks.
chicks,
Well, you
yeah.
won't
There's
find
lots
her
of
there.
accounts. You're not gonna find me there, but Chooks, you'll find me at the Rocker Chooks. So, and that's a nice nod to our friends down under, uh, calling their little birds Chooks, and I think that's kind of
I
fun.
think it is
So,
fun too. I think it's adorable.
yeah, and it gives you lots of room to play. And now my boyfriend's moved in and he had an existing flock
Oh, how
where he was
exciting.
living. Yes. So
How
they
did your
are,
boyfriend end up with chickens? I know he's not
that
here,
was,
but I gotta hear a little
I know he'll be here soon,
short
but
story of how
um,
he came about chickens.
I'm not exactly sure how he got to
Like
that
it
point.
like he's
I
a
should ask him
strong,
that.
independent man, and then he had his own chickens, like they weren't his mom's or
That's
dad
right.
or anything?
Nope,
Oh, how
those were his birds.
exciting.
Yeah, he purchased his great grandparents' homestead. He had Finnish immigrant family members that built the house, and I think having that coop was like a just like a way to do a
Aw.
little nod to heritage. That's my guess. I should probably clear that with him. Um, and he built the
He
most
sounds like our kinda
gorgeous
guy,
coop.
okay.
He's a Rob the Builder kind of dude. I can
He's the
feel it.
internet's guy now.
Uh, we'll see how that flies. Very quiet man, but he does love his birds. So that was pre me. But he had named all of his chickens after female country
Ah,
artists. So they
we
are
do
country
love him
legends.
already. Wow.
I know. I know. You got me. So right now we're the Rocker Chooks featuring the country legends. So we'll see how that goes.
Oh, it's adorable. I do see the picture behind you, and I know who that is, but could you,
Yeah.
although our podcast listeners may not see the picture, but there is a framed, it looks like a water art. I believe it is a water art
It is.
drawing of
Mhm.
one of Courtney's previous girls.
Mhm.
So could you tell us who that is?
I would love to. There was no way I could do this podcast without her in the
Aw.
room. So this is Stevie Nicks. She was one of the original 4 chickens that I had here. And before I had birds, I had no idea the level of personality and intensity that they can have. I learned that quickly on the ride home from the fleet store. These little chicks were bouncing around, and she was certainly one of them, peeking her head out. Um, but she just had a really unique personality. She wanted to hop up onto my lap with very little coaching, even from a small chick. In fact, the next week I'm going to be posting some OG film
Aw.
from my old phone of our first few weeks and months together. But she just really taught me that these birds are far more than birds. They are far more than pets. They can truly be in a therapeutic sense. I think we all struggle during maybe not all, many of us
Yeah.
did during
Yeah.
lockdown. We all have our own stuff that we come with throughout life. And she just like, I swear, knew. People say that about dogs and horses. I think this little chicken did. Very special. She ended up having several just very odd health things happen to her. Um, Over a year ago, I did see a vet, tried to start that vet
Yeah.
relationship. Fortunate that somebody in our community does see them and didn't really get, you know, great answers. We tried some antibiotics, it helped. Had a great stretch where she did well, made it through winter, very fine, no changes, and then just walked out in the morning one day and unfortunately she had passed. So um, this watercolor is not something I would have ever thought I would have asked for, but there's a lovely Minnesota artist, Britt Bakke, and she does watercolors of pets. She reached out to me and
Aw.
said it would be an honor to do an image of Stevie. So we worked together, and this is like my favorite part of the house, I think, is having her up.
I think it's wonderful. I have a hand drawn picture of Miss Brittany, which is probably
That's
one of my
right.
heart, uh, what we call our heart chickens. We love them all, but occasionally there's a heart chicken that comes along, and she hangs in my living room as a
Hmm.
reminder. And like you said, people don't. If you've never, I mean, I understand that people have like we do not have any judgment. Like if you raise chickens just for meat and eggs for your family, go for it. Absolutely
Absolutely.
with the way that prices are in the grocery store. I mean, it's ridiculous. So, we don't there's no judgment here for that. But
Mm.
also on that side, we see a lot of people now since the pandemic, they started out wanting, eggs and meat for their family and then they kind of realized, these are also pets. They have personalities and they are endless entertainment. And there are accounts that are used just strictly for therapeutic for, chickens as therapy. So definitely. So how many chickens do you currently have? Did you add on? Also, you don't live in the city, right? Like you live out in the county. Well, you don't
Right.
have any
Yep.
restrictions.
I don't have any restrictions. I do have some neighbors that are, I can see their houses. It's a bit of a stretch, but I can see them. I try to be respectful with how much racket we're having.
Right.
Of those four original birds, I did have a rooster. That wasn't my intent. Madonna quickly became Freddie Mercury. Um, and yeah, from the
I
day,
love Queen. It's like my favorite, one of the old school favorites,
absolutely
you know.
mad respect for Queen. I started losing some respect for Freddie after, you know, really trying to do all the gentle ways of becoming one and knowing that I'm safe. I'm not here to hurt your girls.
Yeah.
I did end up having to remove him from our flock, um, which was sad, but also a learning lesson. So, with that in mind, I have currently with the country legends, we have six birds. I've lost birds over time. That's just part of chicken keeping
Yeah.
and learning. I had a dog attack that was really freak and weird, and my neighbors and I have a new like agreement and know what's expected of each other, which is good. You need to do that. Um, and I've been really intentional about not adding more birds until I was ready. So
That's
I did add,
that's
yeah,
a
try
good point. Yes.
because that chicken math, oh, it is so real.
I know
Mm,
all about it.
mhm.
When you
Yeah,
see chicken
I'm
math, my
thankful.
face is right there.
I picked up four birds a couple of years ago from a friend's grandparents who were getting older and having a harder time taking care of the volume of birds they had. They were lovely. So that's how I ended up with Tina and Patty and a couple other girls who have passed, but I have those still. And next spring, now that my boyfriend's here with the new coop and we have some plans, we're being really careful about what we want to add in. So we do have hopes for more birds, all layers. There are some, Wilmas on the docket. Small
Oh,
Everett. I know. Before he knew who Wilma was, he said, "Oh, that's a beautiful bird." I said, "Oh,
they
good."
are They are wonderful birds, though. Wilma's on the sassier side, but she had a tragic origin story when she was little, so it's not her fault that she is the
Yeah,
way
we
she
all got
is.
stuff.
But lavenders in general, or Orpingtons in general, are some amazing birds. So,
Yeah, I'm really excited. And, I've talked about we live in Minnesota. We're in a pretty harsh climate. In terms of winter time, it can get 40 below for several days at a time, and that wind is
oh
raw.
yeah,
So you
definitely,
have to have winter hardy birds, but
yeah.
they can handle the heat and humidity of the summer. So we just have to be really careful about what we choose.
Yeah, you have to definitely be knowledgeable. I like the way you mentioned your particular microclimate because I think
Mhm.
people maybe read stuff online, which is going to be my next question of, where you would send people for information, but that you focus on your microclimate because online is kind of like a general thing. There are general things that you can do to prevent, like, frostbite and things like that. But microclimates in your area, asking people around in your area is definitely important. So, where would you send someone who needed tips, or where did you get your tips from? Where did you get your learning to take care of your birds from?
Yeah, I started with just observing, right? So again, I've talked about I work for 4-H. I'm a part of the University of Minnesota Extension Youth Development. I am by no means a poultry specialist, but paying attention to what kids are doing. What birds are they bringing?
Oh
Asking them
yeah,
questions. It was really fun. That was maybe pre-learning, but it's good for everybody to do that. I did pay attention to what extensions. Every state in the United States has an extension. What do they promote? What do they suggest? What are some good tips? Many times it's related to commercial, but there are still some good pieces you can learn from. Um, really tried to stay away from the Facebook groups and some of those things. Maybe they're good for a good jumping off
yeah.
point. I might go, that seems similar. I want to investigate that more. Poultry DMV, awesome. Of course, I came across your page and maybe not a research angle, but now it's become a place to say, I wonder what Wilma has to say about that, and Melissa, because you've gone through a lot of research and sifted things out and have a great way to point people in the right
Yeah,
direction.
we don't
So,
ever claim to be a vet or anything, but we've experienced a lot, and I don't take firsthand what someone says, unless of course it's
mm-mm.
like a poultry, veterinarian or whatever, and then even then I'm like, does that make sense? But yes, continue
Yeah,
on.
I
I'm
like
so
to have a
sorry.
couple sources. Mhm. Yep. And I've got a community mentor. She's been a part of my life for a long, long time, way before birds were of interest to me. At one point, I was probably more like poultry boys I was more interested in than the poultry, and she was connected to that. But that's a story for another day. And
I just adore you.
well, it's just a crazy story, but I'm sure the listeners don't want to hear about my prepubescent days at the state fair.
Maybe
But
another episode we might. We may just like
there we
do
go.
a spin-off because we each, like, each guest we've had is something that we could probably spin off that would be a great episode.
Absolutely. But she's continued to be a good mentor to me to ask questions. We live in the same climate and area, and she knows a lot of the same vets and those things. So she's been a really great resource.
Do you have any tips for our listeners? Basic tips. Obviously,
Hmm.
you've been through a lot, and you do have access to a lot of information, a lot of good resources.
Yeah,
So maybe
I
like
think
some
some
summer
tips.
tips or something, or whatever comes to mind, or basic general
Yeah, I'll
tips
do.
before you get your chickens. It's really up to you.
Yeah, have your coop planned. That's helpful. And know what's good for your climate. I've talked about Minnesota's really cold, and I've also learned that chickens are super hardy. And as long as you're out of the wind, that takes an awful lot of pressure off those little bodies. So I think knowing your climate is a great first step and a good tip, and not just when you get those chicks. That's just one point in the year. But you have to think about their whole life cycle. I think another tip is just to not be that scared. Be smart, but don't be that scared. I know I am nervous to start most projects. I've got a bunch of furniture things I'd love to change and do in the garage. I haven't touched them. Afraid I might mess them up. But these chickens were worth the risk, because I had done some research and felt comfortable. So I said, don't be scared. I'm 31 now. I got chickens in my late 20s on my own, um, and they did fine. And I think I did fine. So know your climate. Don't be scared, and definitely do your research. Find people you trust beyond those Facebook groups. Great jumping off point, but not the end all be all.
I like that you mentioned your local community. You had friends that were local that, you could bounce ideas off of and things like that. And I know some people may not have that option, and there's a lot of
Yeah.
presence online. So what do you think are the benefits that we only have access? Let's say we only have access to online help, and some of the
Mhm.
drawbacks there.
Yeah, I think benefits are one, just being able to learn from other people's experiences. I've learned a lot about egg yolk oh, I can't say it. Egg yolk
Peritonitis
peritonitis. Yeah.
or Tenise,
Um,
it really,
t-
I think it depends on your accent. It doesn't matter. We know
potato,
we know we're
potato.
talking. We
Yeah.
know what you're talking about.
Right. All these things that may come up in your flock, I think having that connection to online people to learn from their experiences before you're in that situation is awesome. I've really valued that. But also knowing where folks' information is coming from, not just experience,
Right.
although that is super important. Like pairing an experience with being able to research on poultry DMV or any of those storybooks. Mer-
Markmanual.com, yeah, or
yeah,
.gov, I think it
yeah,
is. That's another
I
good
think
one.
so.
Yeah.
Excellent page. And extensions. I mean, I
Yeah.
again bias, but there's research into those too.
Do you see
Yeah.
the chicken community? I know we kind of discussed a little bit, but do you see where the chicken community could do more, maybe to help each other, or do less of something that would be beneficial to the community?
Yeah, I think we all could just be a lot more kind. I mean, that's everybody in all aspects, poultry or not. But I oftentimes see folks that are maybe new in the poultry world, just getting their first chicks, or maybe just they boo booed. We make
Yeah.
mistakes. We are so totally human, and people are really quick online sometimes to judge or throw hate or whatever those things are. And we really need to just stop that. I think we need to pause, listen. I love your mission or tagline of
Yeah.
education through compassion,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I just really sits with me in a good place, and I think we need to operate that way. Now, granted, there are egregious things we may see online, and that's different. But for your average person, we just need to be far more kind and include everybody. There is plenty of room in the flock for every kind of person, right? To
Right.
be doing this.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, and we're definitely not like spilling the tea or dishing out whatever, but
Mm-mm.
it's true. There's a lot of you see that like in the fashion world or the beauty world, and you think certainly not like in the backyard chicken world, but there is a lot of
Right.
maybe making people feel like they're not good enough, to maybe make some post on how to do things or how they do things. You know,
Mhm.
um, it really gets on my nerves. I think it makes me really angry. And Wilma tries not to get angry, okay? But it makes me angry when someone makes someone else feel less than.
Yeah,
It it
totally.
it's probably one of the most irritating things that gets to me is when people present themselves as armchair experts or
Yeah.
Instagram experts, and but then someone who may not have as that following is actually well
Mhm.
educated. They've spent a lot of time researching, and money doesn't make you, or presence doesn't make you smart
Mm-mm.
or less than. Okay,
Absolutely.
so we're going to keep this nice and happy, but it really does irk me. It irks me so bad. And I will definitely be the one to defend that person that's
Mhm.
being belittled because, maybe they don't have a big follower
Yeah.
count. Like, who cares? But I will say the
Right.
more followers that you have, you should be putting out. This is the other flip side is that also irks me is that if you do have a higher count, you need to be careful what you're putting out because
Mhm.
people do replicate that because maybe you're the only source that they have.
Absolutely.
Anyway,
Yeah, there's a big responsibility
yeah, I
there.
didn't mean to go off on a tangent, but
That was an important one to
I just don't
have.
like it.
And I No, I don't either. And we see, in any kind of youth program, 4-H aside, but young people are coming at lots of different stages of life with lots of different abilities and
Resources,
needs and resources. Absolutely, that's a whole
yes, it
podcast.
is.
Um, and adults are the same. So I just people. I am also working on the ability not to judge quickly, especially when I'm driving and someone's cut me off. We all have places we need to grow,
Yes, yes, I
but
do.
not everybody is going to raise birds the way their great grandpa did because this isn't the same world that they lived in either. And this is a global society. People have been raising birds all over the world for a long, long time.
Yes.
So, yeah, just accepting diverse experiences, I think, is what we need to do.
Very, very true because we do get messages and stuff from people from other countries, and they don't have access to the feeds and different types of medications. And even though the FDA banned the over counter, but just basic, first
Right.
aid stuff and that, they
Yeah.
don't have access to those. So they're trying to figure out different ways to feed their birds because they want birds. They are,
Yeah.
um, so you can't just turn them away and be like, "Oh, well, I don't know what to tell you." Maybe take an extra step to ask someone that lives similar, or lives somewhere near them and has birds and they're doing okay. Like, what are you using or what are you feeding? Those take an extra step. I mean, obviously, you don't have
Yeah.
to. I'm not telling you you have to do any of that. Maybe it would be nice to take an
Yes.
extra step and just help someone for free. For free.
Absolutely.
Not to
Yes, for
buy my
free.
ebook.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, if that's the only little piece of goodness you put into the world in the day, I mean, that's great. Somebody really appreciated it. I know you've helped me out many times where I thought, oh, I don't know, should I respond to me? Like
Oh,
big account, little account. And you've been very, very responsive. And I just have always appreciated that. And same with Ray, COVID
yeah.
Clucker. She's
Ray's
been
a great,
really good
great
about,
source of
she's
information.
lovely.
Yeah.
Yep. So I agree
I
with
know
you.
that you talked a little bit about your future. You're gonna you're planning for next year, which is very smart. And thinking about, but do you have any kind of favorites other than the lavenders that you want?
Yeah, my boyfriend just is absolutely in love with black Australorps. We have a few right now, and they are just
They
sweet as
are. I
pie.
had,
Oh,
yeah, I had some for a long time. They were really
mhm.
nice.
Yeah. And I've just really grown to love them. They have the sweetest little faces. I also, had a Wyandotte at one point in time for a very short time. She was one of those girls that I acquired.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what kind of things came with them. I was careful with them. And I don't know how old they were either, but golden lace Wyandottes, oh, big, big doughy eyes for me. They get me. And I love my dark Brahma Tina.
Oh,
She
yes.
is all that in a bag of chips. She's a big girl. She eats like a big girl, but she's sweet, super cold tolerant. I'd love to have more varieties of Brahmas, but
Brahmas are very
we'll see.
docile. Yeah, that's a good breed to have. Definitely.
Yeah,
Even the
yeah.
roosters, the ones that I had. Now the Wyandotte roosters, I have
Well,
no
sassy,
comment
Indy.
about that. So, yeah,
Okay.
we had to take care
Yep.
of that. But the Brahma rooster, even though he's gigantic, he was the sweetest, most gentle thing.
Hmm.
Kinda like Mr. Jangles, but
Yeah, hard to beat Mr. J. And that's the thing too, like I would love to make sure that where we're sourcing, I'd like to keep it local. I've been
yeah.
down the hatchery road. I've got feelings, for what I want to contribute in the
Yep.
world. I don't know if hatchery is where I want to
I
go.
agree. Yep.
It worked,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
I have access to all these young people hatching
Yeah,
birds
that's great.
and
Yeah.
breeders. So I think I want to be, I don't know, I want to do a little research and then see who's got stuff, and maybe these kids will want to hatch them out for me, so I don't do that. Because then I'll hatch 100, and we'll have a whole different kind of problem. But yeah, I want to keep it local if I can,
I like that.
or
I
Minnesota.
definitely
Yeah.
that's one of our tips that we try to always encourage is to look local at local hatchery, local
Mhm.
I say
Yep.
local hatcheries, but you know what I mean, small
Yeah.
local places that
Absolutely.
hatch their own birds right there. And
Yep.
they don't have to travel all the way across the country to get to you. Not saying if that's how you buy your chicks, there's nothing wrong with that. But
Yeah.
we each kind of have our own thoughts of how we want to, live. And that's okay. That's fine. No big deal. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. That's why there's lots of different ways to do it. So,
Yes.
um, and I haven't looked at my calendar yet, but there's a large poultry show that happens in southern Minnesota in the fall, and I've been invited to attend, like just to go with friends, and I might entertain that this year. We'll see.
Don't
We'll see.
forget to bring a
TBD.
cage just in
Yeah,
case.
I know. I've been warned. I've been warned.
Well, is there anything else that you would like to add that we didn't go over? You think there's anything that it would be important to share with our listeners that they could benefit from, or any
I think we've covered
any
an
words of
awful lot
wisdom from
today.
Courtney?
Oh, words of wisdom. Besides, be kind, support your crazy local chicken ladies. Love them. We need that love. Support local artists. I don't know. I think just try. If you're somebody who isn't into birds yet, this is your opportunity to learn more and get prepared. Also, shameless plug to support young people who are interested in any passion, whether it's poultry or otherwise. You just don't know what that's going to lead to. So I think that's probably my biggest plug. Support those young people, even if it's just I see you're kind of interested in that. Tell me more. That can really go a long way.
Yeah, because we're gonna need the way we're not to get into all that, but the way things are going, we definitely are going to need we definitely need kids that want to pursue veterinarian, like avian veterinarians,
Oh,
because
mhm.
we not saying that you have to take your chicken to the vet every, sneeze or sniffle, just like your kids, you gotta, kind of make that
Mhm.
call. But, in times of emergency, um, it would be nice to have a local veterinarian that sees chickens, because I know a lot of them just don't. They just don't. They have so much on their plate now to try and learn, not that they
Mhm.
couldn't learn, but to try and learn a whole new another species that maybe they just didn't, have that schooling for, or basic schooling for, or hands-on experience for. We need those. So we
We
need the
do.
kids. Yes, definitely.
We do. We need them, and we need to help them get to that point. Right now, it's an expensive game to play, but we do need them. I feel so lucky that there was a vet in our community willing to see them. But our that industry is they're stressed in more ways than one, and we may sometimes feel as owners of animals like, yeah, but I'm paying that. Yes,
Right.
and they're humans taking care of a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And I know in our community, we have a lot more large animals, and we are strapped for large
Oh,
animal
yeah.
vets. So any vets, we'll push it, or vet techs, all the things.
Yeah, we live in
So
a very rural farm community, and there's beef cows like 2 houses up. And to drive by there and see the little baby calves just melts my heart. But yeah, you'll see the vets out there, but a lot of times they have a previous relationship, so they necessarily don't have to come out, but they can do things over the phone and stuff, that would leading to is maybe you could connect with your local vet even if they don't see chickens, and kind of make that initial
mhm.
connection, and then maybe they would be willing to kind of help you because maybe a little bit more, and then
Right.
they could mix that ability to write prescriptions with that, and and kind of, I don't know, I just would like to see a better relationship between both. People get angry because
Yeah.
events aren't doing this or that, and then I mean, it's just a cycle, and I don't have the answer. I'm just rambling. I just would like to see
Well, I'm right there with
a
you.
little bit
Yeah.
more communication together, to kind of help the community.
Absolutely. And I might be one of the few people I know in our community that has brought a chicken to the vet. Even my mentor went, "You did what?" I said, "Yeah, I brought Stevie in." They're like, "Okay, you do love your chickens, don't you?" I said, "Yes, I do." But my hope was, okay, to at least at a bare minimum learn something, build that relationship with that
Yeah.
vet, and to also say there is a community of folks out here who are needing care. Spread the word. There's more of us chicken folk out there who need prescriptions or need
Yeah.
to have a stool sample done. So I'm right there with you. I hope things change, and all we can do is try.
Our avian vet, they know Wilma by sight. So when they see our name, when they see Wilma, they know us. Because Wilma is she likes to try and unalive herself on the weekly. So, and I may be taking her to the vet
Tough girl.
more often than I would probably admit, only because she is older. She's about 6.5 now, and I do worry because that will be a rough day when Wilma goes. But anyway,
we just will do good prayers and good vibes for all those heart hens that we still
all the
got.
hens
So,
across the
right there with
chicken
ya.
world, yes. The reproductive issues and things as they age is really, really rough. It's rough on the hen and it's rough on their owners. So maybe just bringing awareness to it, even if we can't, there are things that you can't really fix, but, as they get past a certain age, but we could be advocating for just making them comfortable, and giving them palliative care until, till the end. But anyway, I have one more question for you since I think that's about it. But if you could be 17 years old again, what would you tell yourself? What would you say to 17-year-old Courtney now that you are a mature, independent woman?
Ooh. Oh, what a week for that. I felt like I've done lots of reflecting on my youth this past week for lots of reasons. I think I would tell her you'll get what you want. It's just going to take a little bit, and to not be so hard on yourself. I think that would also be maybe I still need that reminder, but don't be so hard on yourself, and you'll get what you want.
I love that. I think that applies to a lot of us.
Okay.
And I think that you are obviously you're mature. You're not a baby, okay? But being in those 20s and 30s and trying to find yourself and, just come into your own.
Yeah. But we just do the best we can, right?
Yes, we do. And we are so honored, and it was a big privilege to have you with us. And where can people find you on the internet?
Yeah, absolutely. More are always welcome. We love good conversation. I'm on, or we are on Instagram at the Rocker Chooks. So you'll find us there. We're kind of in transition right now it's summertime. We're building a deck here at our house, which is the chicken's favorite summer hang. So I think they may be just as excited as myself, but they like to hang under and over. So my account maybe has been a little quiet lately, but more to come quickly. As our flocks totally merge, the deck comes to life, and we do some throwbacks of what the Rocker Chooks
Yeah, I
started
can't
out
wait to
as.
see Stevie when she was little. So that will
So feisty.
be fun to watch. So, but we appreciate you and we thank you. Bye, Courtney. Thank you.
See ya. Thank you.
I'm Mel, and you are listening to Wilma the Wonder Hen.